Guess what came in the mail today? And it's the latest book I published with my colleagues, Gil Peterson, Helen J.K., and Jeremy Nichols. It's an exciting book, and we wrote this book to help new social investors to do good, avoid harm, and never have to resort to the refrain if only we had known. We pay particular attention to the potential of money and technology to improve the current and future lives of vulnerable people and aid the regeneration of our fragile planet. We also provide warning signs of common perils, the things that can go wrong, and how to avoid them. And using case illustrations, we discuss ways to measure and be held accountable for positive and negative impacts. We provide examples of successful approaches used by colleagues in finance and technology sectors to address the world's wicked problems, and in some cases, make money doing so. Finally, we hope our analysis helps navigate the ethical decisions investors face when balancing purpose and profit. In the end, while we cannot help everyone avoid all the pitfalls, we hope it will make their paths a lot clearer. Big business needs to do good with its profits. Big technology needs to stop doing harm. And we all need to act bigger quickly because, according to the experts, we don't have much time. The 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, exemplify the daunting real life challenges facing humanity and the planet: climate change, inequality, and poverty, and destruction of our oceans, forests, and biodiversity, among other things. Are they complete? Probably not, despite providing a lengthy inventory of the elements sustainable development involves. There are other landmine issues not included in the SDGs. For example, they do not capture threats to sustainable development, such as weakening of democracy aided by big technology, and do not grasp the devastating implications of the fourth industrial revolution on the global workforce. They present a picture of what the world should be like rather than scenarios of what it might be like, depending on what actions are taken or ignored. Nonetheless, they provide a roadmap for saving the planet at a time when, given the urgency of action, an accurate map of strong GPS signal is very much needed. That the SDG map shows us are the landmarks on the sustainable development journey and where the rest stops and repair shops are. The rest stops and repair shops are. What the map doesn't tell us is who else is on the road, which direction they are traveling in, and at what speed. A map is helpful, but it doesn't by itself prevent accidents and disasters. In addition to accurate maps, a safe road journey needs elements like a highway code that is understood and adhered to by all drivers, standards of vehicle safety so that drivers have reliable accelerators and brakes, and a well-maintained environment so that we have good visibility and are spared dangerous corners or hazardous road surfaces. In short, a safe, successful journey is not simply about understanding the destination. It is dependent on multiple interconnected elements, many of which are beyond our control. The importance of something more than a map, something more like an understanding of interconnected systems, came to the fore in 2020 with the arrival of COVID-19 pandemic. The rapid effects of the virus on global and social economic life heightened how messy and interconnected the world has become. The virus spread from country to country, brutally disrupting industries and social norms. Rapidly and brutally, it held economic and socio-political systems up to the highest, to the harshest of lights. It exposed the frailties, the false assumptions and contradictions as countries tried to find appropriate response. But it also showed how things that a few months earlier would have been considered impossible were not only possible but desirable once the magnitude of the problem had been understood, be it lockdowns, government social welfare, investment in public health, or any number of other uh, interventions affecting people's individual and collective life. So the lessons from COVID-19 pandemic are only starting to be learned, but there are already some insights emerging that are relevant. The first insight is what may seem like local problems quickly escalate into ones that are global, spread by the global interconnectedness that is taken for granted as the norm. Insight two, as the problem spreads, it becomes apparent that it cannot be solved in the way a puzzle can. It is not something that stands alone. It is part of a mess of tightly interwoven issues that feed into each other, generating new problems that require fundamental rethinking of what is necessary and possible. The third insight, what seemed a short while ago impossible becomes possible in a short space of time. Moreover, things we look for, we took for granted as normal are quickly overturned. There are many examples of this, including false assumptions that national wealth always equates with better health outcomes. The reality is that rich USA and Britain suffered far more than poor Indonesia and Philippines. But as important for this book is how quickly the normal change. Long, long held views about social welfare safety net, public health, and the use of government funds were discarded in quick time, replaced by policies and programs that were previously thought beyond the pale. Each of these insights has relevance beyond COVID-19. They are important for understanding the complex, messy, interrelated issues that make up the most pressing challenges of our time. Those challenges, things like climate change, inclusion, poverty, threat to life on land and underwater, come together to form wicked problems. This kind of problem mentioned earlier is not to be seen as a puzzle to be solved. Wicked problems are messy, chaotic, and threaten what we might consider the norm. But if they cannot be solved, they can be remedied or tamed. To do this, however, takes a certain kind of leadership, which we call deliberate leadership, characterized among other things as courageous, collaborative, and creative. The central argument of this book is that big finance and big technology are so large and far-reaching in the modern world that they are inevitably an element in any wicked problem. At the very least, they need to ensure they do not exacerbate the situation. But more than that, they need to exhibit the deliberate leadership that will increase their contribution to sustainable development in ways that befit their size and influence. One of the ways they can contribute is through social finance, which at the risk of oversimplification refers to the allocation of capital primarily for social environmental returns or the remedy of complex social environmental challenges. Can this book save the planet from wickedly difficult problems? Probably not, but it can be a helpful primer for those using money and technology to achieve the SDGs while avoiding common pitfalls that can harm the vulnerable people and planet they seek to save. We recognize how money and technology can work to degenerate rather than regenerate society and the environment, but we also share examples of what works when big finance and big technology step in to solve big problems, not least through social finance. In doing so, we hope positive impact can be accelerated and deliberate leadership become more widespread. We draw on our research and empirical case studies resulting from interviews with more than 1,500 interviews with social investors in more than 20 countries. These conversations with CEOs working in social investing, philanthropy, impact investment, public funding, intermediary support in the BRIC, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, to countries in Africa, Europe, and North America. We gathered frank, discerning, and inspiring insights into what works and what doesn't when when using social finance to solve wicked problems. We wrote the book as an anthology, and the book offers perspectives from seasoned and often bruised from tried academics, advocates, and advisors. We share both success and cautionary tales about harm that can occur through uninformed and often unchecked social investments, whether philanthropy, impact investing, or traditional finance. So, if you've not gotten your copy yet, this is the time to get it. And if you have any questions, please send it on our way. Thank you for listening to me.